I've carried anger with me for as long as I can remember. Not the kind of anger that flares up and then disappears, but the kind that burns quietly, like a coal buried under ashes. It's always been there, heavy, bitter, exhausting. And it was always directed at the same person, my mother. Because according to my father, she abandoned me when I was just 2 years old. I'm 27 now, a grown man. I pay my own bills, have my own apartment, and live what you might call a regular life. But no matter how far I moved on, no matter how many things I achieved, there was always this dark spot in my chest whenever someone mentioned family. Because my family was always incomplete. My father raised me on his own. He worked long hours, sometimes double shifts. He made sure I had food on the table, clothes for school, even a small allowance when times weren't so great. From the outside, people would probably say, "Wow, what a strong single dad. He did everything for his son." But inside our home, things were different. He never really let me forget what happened to us. At least once a week, especially after a beer or two, he'd remind me, "Your mother walked out on us. She left us like garbage. She didn't care about you." I grew up believing every word. How could I not? He was the only parent I had. And kids don't question their parents, not when they're small, not when the parent is the only person keeping a roof over your head. So I absorbed his words like gospel. I pictured her as a selfish, heartless woman, someone who simply got tired of being a mom and decided her freedom was more important than her own child. I hated her, and that hatred shaped me more than I realized. When I was 6 and other kids made Mother's Day cards, I just sat there pretending to draw something else. When I was 10 and the teacher asked about my mom, I mumbled that she wasn't around, and I felt everyone's eyes burning holes in me. When I was 16, I told my first girlfriend that I didn't have a mom, and when she asked why, I snapped at her so hard she cried. All those years, the story never changed. She didn't want me. She walked away. End of discussion. And honestly, it hardened me. I learned to bury things deep, to never rely on anyone except myself, to believe that love is temporary, and people leave when they get bored.
But here's the thing about anger. It doesn't just stay quiet. It grows. It poisons you. And one day, out of sheer curiosity, or maybe desperation, I decided I needed to see her face. Not in my imagination, not in the twisted version my father fed me. I wanted to know what she actually looked like now. So, a few months ago, I opened up social media and typed in her name. It felt like a betrayal just doing that. My hands were literally shaking as I pressed search. Part of me expected to find nothing. Maybe she changed her name, maybe she disappeared, maybe she was dead. But within seconds, there it was. Her profile. And when I clicked on it, my heart nearly stopped. She was there, alive, smiling in photos with a couple of friends, not looking like a monster, not looking like the selfish villain I'd carried in my head for 2 decades. Just a woman, a normal woman. For a long time, I just stared at her pictures. I memorized the lines on her face, the way her eyes crinkled when she smiled, and I realized something terrifying. I looked like her. The same nose, the same cheekbones, even the same crooked smile. And that was the first crack in the wall of hatred I'd built my whole life. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct told me to close the tab, forget about it, and never go back. Because if my dad found out, it would be like betraying him. After everything he'd done for me, how could I even think of reaching out to the woman who abandoned us? But another voice inside me whispered, "What if it's not the full story? What if you've been wrong all this time?" I couldn't sleep that night, or the night after. Every time I closed my eyes, her face appeared in my mind. That resemblance haunted me. After 3 days of torture, I gave in. I wrote her a short message. Just one line. I don't know if you remember me, but I'm your son. I expected silence, or maybe some half-hearted reply. But she answered within 10 minutes. And what she wrote back to me completely shattered everything I thought I knew about my family.
When my phone buzzed with her reply, I froze. 10 minutes, that's all it took. After 25 years of silence, my mother responded like she had been waiting for me all along. Her first words, "Of course I remember you. I've thought about you every single day since the last time I saw you." I didn't know how to process that. I had been so sure she would be cold, detached, maybe even indifferent. Instead, her words were full of warmth, almost desperate. I stared at the screen, my chest tight, my throat dry. It didn't make sense. How could the same woman my father called selfish and heartless sound like this? I typed back angrily, "Then why did you leave us? Why did you leave me?" Her next messages came in a flood. Long paragraphs, apologies, explanations, things I had never, ever been told. And as I read them, the world I thought I knew began to crack apart. She told me she didn't leave by choice, that my father had forced her out. According to her, when I was just 2 years old, their marriage was falling apart. My father wasn't the noble single parent I thought he was. He was controlling, manipulative, angry. She claimed she tried to fight for custody, that she went to court, hired a lawyer, but my father played dirty. He lied. He used money and connections she didn't have. He painted her as unstable, unfit. And when the legal system failed her, he did something even worse. He told her if she ever tried to see me again, he would disappear with me completely. She said she used to send me birthday cards and letters every year, but I never saw them because he hid them. She said she came to my school once just to watch me from a distance because it was the only way she could see me without causing trouble. She said she cried every night for years, wondering if I hated her. And the most gut-wrenching part? She said she stayed away because she thought it was the only way to protect me from the war between her and my father. I didn't want to believe her. I couldn't, because if I did, it meant that everything I believed about my childhood, everything my father told me, was a lie. But then she did something that made it impossible to ignore. She sent me proof. Photos of me as a baby, ones I'd never seen before. Copies of letters with postmarks from my childhood years, addressed to me but never delivered. Legal documents from the custody battle, showing how she fought for me. I sat there, scrolling through evidence, my heart pounding in my ears. This wasn't just her word against his. This was real. And in that moment, the coal of anger I had been carrying all my life shifted. It wasn't aimed at her anymore. It turned, sharp, white-hot, toward him, toward my father. The man who raised me, the man I trusted, the man I defended every time someone questioned why I didn't have a mom. He wasn't the hero. He was the villain. He stole my mother from me. He poisoned my childhood with lies. He robbed me of years I can never get back. And the cruelest part, he made me hate her for it. I can't explain the wave of betrayal that hit me. It's one thing to lose a parent. It's another thing entirely to realize the parent who stayed is the reason you lost the other one. For days, I couldn't talk to him. I couldn't even look at him without feeling sick.
every memory of my childhood replayed in my head with new meaning. His sacrifices, his hard work, his speeches about loyalty, they all felt hollow now. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to ask him why. But I didn't. Not yet. Because right now, the only thing I could think about was her. For the first time in my life, I actually talked to my mother. Not a ghost, not a villain in someone else's story, but the real woman. She told me about her life since then, how she remarried once but it didn't last, how she never had more kids because the wound of losing me never healed, how she still keeps a box filled with baby clothes and toys she once bought for me. She cried when she said she was proud of me, proud of the man I'd become, even if she hadn't been allowed to raise me. And I cried too, because for the first time I realized I had been robbed of something priceless, a mother's love. Now I'm trying to build that relationship, slowly, carefully. It's not easy. There are decades of pain to untangle. But I want to know her. I want her in my life. As for my father, I don't know where we stand. Part of me wants to cut him out completely. Another part of me wants answers, even though I know they'll never heal what he's done. But here's the truth I've learned. Sometimes the biggest betrayal doesn't come from the person who leaves. It comes from the one who convinces you they stayed out of love, when in reality they stayed to make sure you never found out the truth.